Okay, so you've done some self-reflection, you're ready to take the next step in pursuing a website for your business. Now what? Well, like most things, you have to decide if you want to make it yourself or have an agency or freelancer make it for you. This will be part one of a two-part series outlining the pros and cons for building your own website or outsourcing it. So without further ado, let's get juiced. Agencies have designers, developers, SEO specialists, content creators, basically an army of individuals that specialize in each and every aspect of website development to ensure they're building a solid product. Now, agencies tend to have a leg up on freelancers, at least in this area, because realistically, a freelancer is probably not an expert in every aspect of web development. Maybe they're an incredible designer, so your website looks amazing, but they're just proficient in optimizing the website for SEO. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are some outliers out there, but at least in my experience for the last decade, interacting with freelancers, web design companies, and SEO companies, when you work with an agency, you're getting a team of people with specialized skills working together to create an awesome product. Agencies have systems in place, established workflows, which should lead to faster lead times and project completion dates. Most agencies also have specific templates they prefer, so they're not necessarily starting from scratch when they start building your website. Those templates are basic enough that it gives them a good starting point, but customizable enough that it looks different than the websites they're building for their other clients. Agencies and freelancers also tend to use the latest development tools, plugins, platforms, so your website can be built using the most current and efficient technology. This ensures you have a modern looking website that also performs well and shows up, of course, for relevant keyword searches, which for today's technologically savvy consumer is incredibly important. Just about every agency and freelancer offers some sort of maintenance package or ongoing support for bug fixes, updates, security patches, analytics, maybe even some other things I'm forgetting. Basically, you don't have to worry about your website at all after it launches. You can set it and forget it. Okay, we've looked at the pros. Now let's talk cons. For most people, the biggest con and the elephant in the room is cost. There are a ton of variables that go into pricing, like how many pages you want. Some companies use proprietary technology or have built-in CRMs that aren't optional, so you have to pay a bit more. Even though you can always find options for less, and of course for more, I think a reasonable range for most businesses that just need a professional looking, mobile responsive, SEO optimized website that's 5 to 7 pages is somewhere between $5,000 to $15,000. If you get a quote that's at the top of that range or more, I'm not saying don't consider it. I'm saying just make sure the company is justifying the additional cost, because after a certain point, there is a law of diminishing returns. They may be trying to sell you a bunch of fluff that you don't actually need. This is also not an area you want to just go with the cheapest guy. I have a client in Texas, a realtor, that paid $850 for her website. Sounds like a steal, right? Well, it was until I pointed out that her website had almost no copy, and the copy it did have had no keywords. And when I say no keywords, I mean not one instance of the words realtor or real estate agent. I don't even know how that happens. Obviously, those are keywords my client wanted to show up for, but because that company didn't do their job, her visibility suffered. Moral of the story, don't pay an arm and a leg for a website, but don't cheap out on it either. Now, most people think the biggest con of outsourcing their website is cost, and while cost might be a con, I don't think it's the biggest one. In my opinion, the biggest con of working with most agencies is the lack of personalization when it comes to content. Chances are you're working with a web design agency or SEO company to build your website. I talk about this all the time. Their specialty is building the website, not making sure the content is hyper personalized, which it has to be if you want it to convert at the highest possible level. I need to give you a bit more context here. These companies aren't trying to take advantage of their clients. It's more a product of their business model. All of these companies are focused on scaling and getting more clients. There's nothing wrong with that, but what happens is the more clients they take on, the less time they can invest into each individual client. Eventually, they have so many clients, they have to automate as much of the process as possible. And in this industry, when you start talking about automation, you start losing personalization. It's one of the reasons why stock photos for visuals and AI for copy are so prevalent. Now, legit agencies have copywriters that typically work on the copy for their clients' websites, but the final product still sounds generic. Why? None of these companies do an extensive deep dive into your business's actual brand. They just ask you basic generic questions beforehand. It's not enough. I have all of my clients fill out a brand brief that asks them questions like, how do you want customers to feel when they see your brand? Describe the personality and culture of your company. How would you describe your brand if it were a person? This is in addition to the basic questionnaire that they've already filled out. If someone's writing copy for your website that's going to represent your business, don't you think they should know your business's brand and brand voice on a deeper level? As for stock photos, many agencies say, well, this is just a placeholder, or the business never sent me photos. I have one word for those companies: lazy. As agencies, as marketers, we have to set expectations and at times hold you as our clients accountable. Your website needs to be personal, so I need personal photos of you, your business, your team for the website. It's a non-negotiable. Most people that are going to spend thousands of dollars for a website will not have an issue spending an extra couple hundred for professional photos when they understand how important those photos are. But again, it's up to the company building the website to set those expectations. And unfortunately today, most companies don't. Luckily, there's a pretty easy way to circumvent everything I just talked about. Just make sure you give your website company photos and have someone familiar with the business write some or all of the copy for the website. Even if it's not perfect, your website company will at least have a strong foundation to work with and can fill in the necessary gaps. Okay, I hope this was helpful and is giving you some things to consider. If you need a professional, high-performing website that drives traffic and conversions, outsourcing might save you some time and frustration in the long run, but you are going to pay for the convenience. You might also consider a hybrid option where the company builds a website, but you work on the copy yourself to make sure the website has a unique brand voice. That wraps up part 1 of the series. Be sure to check out part 2, where we break down the pros and cons of going the DIY route, and I'll link that down in the description. Until next time.